Yeah, buddy, one of the most controversial episodes I'll probably have on the fucking podcast. You guys ready to fucking do this shit? How's it going, guys? And welcome to another episode of Real Me and a movie podcast where you didn't really ask for, but hey, I'm gonna give it to you anyways. This is a podcast where I talk anything, everything, and anything about movies. I'm your host, Chase Lee, and hey, guys, listen. If you were on the internet looking for some weird porn or whatever, you accidentally came across my podcast and you're not a movie fan, well, hopefully I can convince you to be one. So this is episode 141, guys, and if you are new to my podcast, welcome. What I do is I will go over some movie news. I will go over one trailer that dropped, that Lonely trailer that dropped, and I will have my review of The Suicide Squad and Batman: The Killing Joke because they were both released this week. So it's it's going to be very controversial since both of them are very divisive in their opinions and whatnot. And before we begin, if you're watching on YouTube and you want an audio-only version of this podcast, link will be in the description below. And if you're listening on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, iTunes, or SoundCloud, and you want a video version, link will be in the description below. And if you're watching on Facebook Live, welcome, and please comment down below and join the conversation and tell me if you like this angle or not. I actually have like these cheap ass little $2 plastic hooks you put on your wall or whatever. So I put that on my computer, and that's what's holding my phone right now instead of having a downward angle view where you have to see like my awesome phone book chin. But I'm making advances here on the podcast. So but I am not alone. And so I figure, with a divisive movie, it's best to have someone to talk about it with. And I figure it'd be no one better than the person that actually said he wanted to come on the podcast and basically insert himself this week. But I always like having him on. That would be Joel. And he has been on you've been on a few episodes, right?
Just one. I was on early July. We talked about Swiss Army Man. And I think I talked about BFG. That was the episode that I was on.
Oh, okay.
Just about a month ago.
Okay, yeah. So, Joel's been on before. And
thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. And he's a film critic just like myself in Dallas, Texas, the Texas of the USA. And, he's really good at writing and stuff. And so he knows what he's talking about. So I definitely do not mind having him on because he knows his shit. So before we begin, Joel, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. It's been a busy day, but I'm happy to be on. Good podcast, and always great talking.
Yeah, this is going to be a really fun one because, like I said,
it's going to be a packed episode.
Very packed, and there's going to be some opinions flying. You might get butthurt, you might get triggered, but guess what? This is my opinion. This is Joel's opinion, and we're just going to tell it like it is. And I would like to know, down below in the comments or whatever, just join the conversation. I want to know if you like something, if you dislike something. That is the joy about talking about movies. I love that shit, so please join in the conversation. And like I said, for once again, for Facebook Live, if you like this angle up at top of the computer, please let me know. All right, so without further ado, let's get into it. So let's start out with some movie news that dropped. All right. So, Joel, you were the guest, and just like last time, I'll let you go first. What would you like to talk about first in the non-comic book news?
Okay, well, I'll talk about the sequel to The Secret Life of Pets. That was the film from from last month, from Illumination Entertainment. They're the people who did Despicable Me, Minions. I think they're only ones right now, but anyway, I'm really excited about this. I enjoyed the first one quite a bit. I had a dumb grin on my face the whole time. It was really, really sweet. And I forget the release date is in July, I believe.
Yeah, July 2018.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm excited. I figured that this was going to happen. It was a big hit, and really, really solid cast. I hope they bring them back. Add some new faces maybe, or voices, I guess. And that's the big bit of news.
Yeah, it's getting a sequel, which makes a lot of sense because if you look at the movie, I think it costs like $75 million, and you guys know the rule. You got to double the budget for it to break even because the theaters got to take their cuts and shit. And I think right now it's at $400 million worldwide. So, as a no business brainer, thing, it makes sense for it to have a sequel. I did not see the first one, but I heard a lot of good things. And since my roommate is a dog owner and I've been around this dog for a few months, I'm more prone to the animal movies and stuff, and I actually don't mind watching them now and not cringing too much if they're family films. But yeah, it just makes sense business wise. And you know what? I will watch the first one down the road at some point, and I actually might see it next week because I have Friday off, so I might just catch up on some movies and stuff, and that might be one of them. So yeah, that makes
it's a worthy one to catch for sure.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I my favorite animated film of the year so far is Zootopia, and so nothing's really kind of come close to it. So I would like to watch another enjoyable film in that genre. So yeah, sequel's coming, and it's actually, here's the kicker though. It comes out in July 2018, and I forgot what the actual date, like the exact dates, so don't quote me on this, but I know for a fact it's within like a 2-week range of Toy Story 4, which is very interesting because I've heard similarities of The Secret Life of Pets and Toy Story having similar kind of plot points and stuff, so I find that kind of funny. Joel, since you've seen The Secret Life of Pets, what do you have to say about the accusations of it being a Toy Story kind of ripoff?
I guess I kind of see it there. It does frame a lot of the action around the fact that the pets are mostly, anthropomorphic, if you will, when the humans are gone. But and maybe I guess some of the conflict later on. But it's its own thing. I honestly didn't really think about Toy Story while watching it. I was just kind of into the energy, and there's a lot of energy, maybe a little bit too much in the last act, but it was enjoyable on its own, and so I guess I get that maybe, but I'm definitely not going to be the one to throw that accusation at the movie. I think it's its own work.
So. Okay, yeah, I mean that's really cool,
and it's certainly not as good as Toy Story.
Well, duh. I mean, come on, it's Toy Story. Yeah, no, I'll definitely check it out because of the positive word of mouth and stuff. So, yeah, if I review that, it'll probably be next week in a blurb at some point. I don't know. All right, so next piece of news, let's talk about the other non-comic book piece of news before we get super sweaty, everyone, because it's going to be DC heavy all over this fucking place. The last piece of news is that Channing Tatum and Jillian Bell, she is the secretary on Workaholics, if you guys don't know who she is by name. I think she's really funny and stuff. She's really great improv comedy and whatnot. I think she just kind of has like that kind of weird kind of weird energy that she brings to films, but she's just so funny. So the news is that Channing Tatum and Jillian Bell are going to be in the remake of Splash, and it's reported that Channing Tatum will play the merman, and yeah, there you go. So, Joel, I have to ask you, have you seen the original Splash? What do you think of it, and what do you think of this news of them remaking it and switching the genders up and all that?
Well, first of all, I have not seen the original. It's one that I've been wanting to see for a long time. I think I've seen probably stretches of it on TV, but so I don't really have any thoughts about the general idea of a remake. I mean, I guess fans are happy with it, and that's fine. I like the idea of gender swapping. That's an interesting little, I guess, creative idea there. That's pretty neat. I think that a lot of people are definitely wanting to see Channing Tatum as a merman.
Of course.
That's great. I like Jillian Bell. I haven't watched Workaholics, but she was terrific in 22 Jump Street.
Yes, she was.
That was a really good movie. She was great in it. I've loved Tatum for a while now, and so anyway, I'm looking forward to it in a general way. It'll give me the chance to see the original before the new one comes out. That's usually what I try to do, and I'm looking forward to it. I love Tom Hanks. I love Meg Ryan in her prime, so I think that was Meg Ryan. Anyway, so I guess, kind of generally cool. I like those people. So there you go.
Joel, people in the comments section are freaking out trying to ban Joel from the internet because it was Daryl Hannah. Daryl Hannah. That's okay. Listen. You can't fault someone that's never seen the movie. Okay. I watched it a long time ago on TV and stuff, and it was one of the first Ron Howard movies I ever watched, and I just thought it was like a nice little fun family adventure. So speaking of that kind of like fun family kind of overall wholesome tone, Joel, do you think it'd be wise if they took this remake and more of like a 21 Jump Street or 22 Jump Street and make it like super R-rated and just kind of go there? Or do you think they should kind of keep that whole like family vibe?
I'm of two minds about that. I kind of just jumped into thinking mode there when you asked me, because I'm thinking two things. One, that would kind of be weird because the original is a family film, but the thing is that the major fan base of the original is now in their adult years. It's not a huge kind of kid movie classic right now. So I feel like they could do that. I suspect that they'll try to get Tom Hanks and Daryl Hannah in there, and Johnny Depp kind of cameos. That'll be interesting to find out. But so I don't know. I mean, they could, with the right approach, they could totally do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually really like this kind of trend that Hollywood. I usually don't like most trends Hollywood does, but I kind of like the trend of like taking these like older movies from the 80s and stuff, or old TV shows, and like making them like R-rated and kind of raunchy and stuff. I don't know. I've had a good experience with most of them. Like I love the Jump Street franchise and stuff. So I don't know. That'd be pretty interesting to see it as an R-rated film and have Channing Tatum be a reverse merman and just have his whole bottom half like completely nude. So you just have a dick on camera for like 2 hours, and it's like there's your R rating. So. For all you people that like Splash and stuff, congratulations. You did not escape the remake chain. You are getting a remake. So, that is it for that piece of news. Guys, from this point on, I'm going to let you know right now and give you a warning. This is about to get DC/comic book heavy. Get ready for it. It's about to get super sweaty. So, the first piece, let's get the Marvel piece of news out of the way. And then we'll jump into DC. And the news from Marvel is that Mark Ruffalo is actually done filming his scenes for Thor Ragnarok, which is the third Thor film in the franchise. I find this really interesting because a while back, Mark Ruffalo said that Thor Ragnarok will feel like a buddy film, and him and Thor are going to go on this galactic road adventure and stuff. But they've only been filming for 3 weeks, and I'm wondering if he got all this stuff done. I'm actually wondering if he's going to be in there as Bruce Banner a lot, or if he's going to be just the Hulk the whole time, and they really just need, people in mocap suits and just use his face for like emotional scenes and stuff. So that's kind of my reasoning, is that when you get done in 3 weeks, especially with these big budget blockbusters like this, I think Mark Ruffalo will be in the movie a lot, but they'll probably just use a bunch of mocap dudes for the rest of his scenes and whatnot. But Joel, when you hear this, and you hearing a while back that this is going to be a buddy film, do you think that Mark Ruffalo is pulling a fast one on us? Do you think he's in there that much, or do you think that he is going to be an integral part to the story?
I think he could be. I mean, we don't know a whole lot about this yet, or I don't know a whole lot about this yet. I don't think a lot has been released, but I know that it's supposed to try to incorporate Planet Hulk into the narrative. I don't know how they are able to do that with only 3 weeks of shooting. If it was even 3 weeks of shooting,
it's literally not even been a month yet.
Yeah, so I mean, it probably part of that month has not been spent with Mark Ruffalo. So I mean, it could be that you're right. It could be that they've got somebody in there who's in the mocap suit for the actual Hulk, and that's going to be the major part of the shoot process. But it's interesting. I'm really interested to see this movie. It sounds crazy. It's got Taika Waititi behind the camera, the guy who did What We Do in the Shadows. That's going to be interesting. So this news, I didn't even know that he had finished until you sent me the schedule for the show. I knew that when it started shooting, but I had no idea that he was already done.
In the shadows, that's going to be interesting.
Man, that's very strange. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited for Thor Ragnarok, because if you guys don't know, Ragnarok basically means apocalypse. So you know that this is going to be kind of like an ending kind of storyline for the Thor characters and even Loki and whatnot, because Tom Hiddleston has said that this will be his last turn as Loki. Until he probably pops up in Infinity War, like in the back of a Denny's going, "Hi, guys," and then he just gets blasted by Thanos. So, yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to it. Joel knows this. I'm a huge Marvel fan. I love everything that comes out, and just hearing that this storyline is going to epically end after all these years, and it's like watching this awesome, massive TV show, and each episode is just something new and something different. I love that shit, but I'm excited to see Hulk kind of join up for Thor in probably Chris Hemsworth's last solo adventure as Thor. I don't think he's going to get a fourth Thor, but if they do a fourth one, it'll probably be either a female or a different person taking on the mantle. I just can't see Chris Hemsworth going anywhere beyond his third solo movie and in Infinity War. So that is it for that piece of news. All right, Joel, out of the two Warner Brothers stories, which one would you like to tackle first?
I think that I am going to talk about, let's see. Yeah, so they're kind of all related, but I'm going to talk about this first, and that is the report that Suicide Squad had 2 cuts testing. I'm assuming that what that means is they had the theatrical cut, and believe me, I'll get on the theatrical cut, but I feel like what this means is it's a really weird thing, but I don't know how long DC can hold this up. So you had Batman v Superman. You had the theatrical cut, which was very divisive, and then you had the Ultimate Edition, which it seems like a lot of people were on board with that. I was. It actually was so good to me that it made the theatrical cut worse. I was a fan of the theatrical cut, and now I'm not. That should tell you, because of how much cutting they did and how much it shows in the Ultimate Edition. And I don't know how they can keep this up. It's really worrying to me that this news. I don't know if the news is related to the fact that there's some longer cut that may fill in a lot of the gaps in the theatrical version. I don't know about that, but it's indicative to me that it's probable that that's what the case is. That the theatrical cut, which is 123 minutes, probably went alongside another cut that was apparently less popular or something, or they just decided not to go with it. And that'll be the next bit of news that you talk about, part of that aspect of it, that there's something missing from this movie, and I think I know what it is, but again, I'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, I'm very interested to see another version of this movie that fixes all its numerous problems. I'm super curious about what this means, not only for Suicide Squad, but for the DCEU. I don't know how they expect to keep this pattern going, where they release some theatrical cut that's critically reviled, it's not very popular past its opening weekend, and then they go out and they release a new cut on Blu-ray. We're gonna have to see if that's the report down the road about the new cut is the cut that they tested alongside this one, and it lost. I'm almost, I don't like conspiracy theories, but I almost wonder if they tested it, then they went with the less popular one just to kind of appease the audiences. That's what I gotta wonder. Again, I don't like conspiracy theories, but that's super interesting.
Yeah, I have a lot of different angles to tackle this, so I guess I'll start from just the beginning of it. So the story is after this, after Suicide Squad's hidden in the 20% aisle right now on Rotten Tomatoes, it's not really hidden well with critics, just like BVS did. So the article coming out is that Suicide Squad actually tested with 2 different cuts. Now, the first cut that they showed was apparently David Ayer's like dark ass cut that he wanted to show. It shows a lot more, kind of intense moments and whatnot. And after the first trailer dropped with Suicide Squad, after the Comic-Con one last year, which was the Bohemian Rhapsody one, everyone went apeshit over it, including myself. I was like, this looks great, looks awesome. I'm totally on board. Exactly. However, that trailer dropped 2 months before BVS came out. After BVS came out, Warner Brothers started panicking. And they did not know what to do with Suicide Squad because they were second guessing themselves and were like, well, I mean, do we show this cut that the director did that we fucking hired him to do, or what did we do? We've invested a lot of money. We got to hijack this shit. So what they did was they hired the goddamn people that edited the trailer to the Bohemian Rhapsody one, and they made them edit the film in more kind of like an upbeat, fun way because people like the trailer. I have a lot of things wrong with that. Do not, under any circumstance, hire people that edit trailers for a living to edit a feature narrative film. That shit does not work. Okay? I'm telling you that right now. I don't know what the hell they were thinking. Just because we as the mass audience like the 2-minute and 30-second trailer does not fucking mean they can edit a 2-hour movie. So that's already strike number 1. And strike number 2 is I'm on the same side as Joel. Now listen, I liked BVS, the theatrical edition. I thought it was fine. I had problems with it and stuff. But that Ultimate Edition is far superior, and the theatrical edition is now shit. I do not want it in my house anymore. I just want the theatrical or the Ultimate cut. If Warner Brothers pulls this shit again and goes, well, you know what? Here's the Ultimate cut of Suicide Squad with more footage. It's more dark and stuff. I will lose my shit. I gave them a pass for BVS because, hey, maybe they made a mistake and they realized they did a fuck up and now they want to recourse that. I totally get that. But if they do this again for Suicide Squad, fuck me sideways because I'm probably going to get it. But you cannot keep manipulating people like that, and you cannot just be like, well, let's release the shitty kind of choppy cut in theaters, and then we're going to release an ultimate cut on Blu-ray and DVD to heighten up sales. That is manipulation, and you need to stop fucking doing that shit. I know a lot of people out there will probably go, well, Chase, don't buy the Blu-ray. You know what? I'm a fan of the genre. I want to see good movies out of this genre of filmmaking, which is comic book stuff. But you cannot keep manipulating people like that because in the theater, I want to see the actual cut that was approved and was like, that is the one that they gave a standing ovation for. Do you guys remember that fucking shit? Warner Brothers gave a standing ovation to their BVS like a while back. Now, granted, that is, stupid because it's their film. Are they going to say, boo, that sucked? No, I get it. You want to be very cautious about what you say. But if they watched that 3-hour-long cut and they supposedly had a standing ovation, you should have fucking released that cut. Would it have been too long for people? Sure, but you would have had a better critical response than you fucking did, because I didn't think you would want a 27% on your film. You might as well just have released the ultimate cut. That cut is far superior than the theatrical edition. So if they do that shit again with Suicide Squad, I will fucking flip a dick. I am so sick and tired of, studios in general going, well, this was the real cut we were supposed to release, but we'll just save it for Blu-ray. No, you release it for the fucking theater. So
it shows contempt for its audience. Like people, we're going to get into the Rotten Tomatoes nonsense in a little while after our review, but briefly. It's the same thing. People think that Rotten Tomatoes have contempt for DC Comics fans. Try DC Comics Entertainment. They can't keep this going.
No.
You've got Wonder Woman and Justice League next year. You're telling me that they're going to shoot those movies as R-rated movies, let's say, because I feel like there's an R-rated movie in Suicide Squad.
Oh, for sure.
And then they're going to just release the childish version, the PG-13 version, in theaters, and then leave us, this terrible product that's going to just continue to soil their reputation. It's like they didn't learn from the response to Green Lantern. They need to make movies that are not these dark, dour things that are trying to emulate The Dark Knight without doing it, or The Dark Knight Rises. You know, I mean, it's just and remain PG-13. Either confront the reality that you probably can't make these perfect PG-13 things with it by, you know, remaining serious and dour, or just go all out. Say, okay, well, we're going to establish from the get-go that these movies are for adults and not younger teens and children. And then just make R-rated movies. Like, it wouldn't kill them to do that. They're Warner Brothers. And, you know, I mean, it's just anyway.
Because listen, I know it's kind of hard to bring up Marvel when you're talking about DC, but I'll go ahead and do it anyways. I realize that Marvel has got a reputation. They're owned by Disney. I understand why they cannot do R-rated films because they will never do it because they're pussies. Now, with Warner Brothers, Joel is right. Warner Brothers is king. It's not owned by Disney or any type of family brand. Hell, they make graphic, violent, animated DC films every single time they do. I'm about in the same fucking episode. So why can't you adapt that to your live action movies? It makes no sense. So I'm with Joel in this one. If Wonder Woman comes out and it's a choppy fucking mess and they come out with an Ultimate Edition again, Warner Brothers, what the fuck are you doing? You're going to lose the trust of the fans, and they are not going to want to participate in this fucking game of chicken that you're like doing to us. Like, and we're just going to be like, you know what? Forget DC, forget Warner Brothers. I'm okay with just watching anything else in that genre. So Warner Brothers, just please change your fucking act before you either get to.
Then you have Justice League, and there's even bigger stakes there. And I mean, imagine this happening to Justice League, where it's Justice League. Yeah. It's Justice League that's bigger. I think it'll be a bigger event than the Avengers because you have Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. These are more recognizable iconography than Iron Man and Thor and all. You know, those were less popular in the older days of the comics. And so you have, you know, imagine something like the box office drop. And in fact, it just happened. We're going to get to the box office later too, but I did pay attention to the box office of Suicide Squad. I couldn't get away from it. Something that controversial is going to be reported on everywhere. And you have this huge drop from Friday to Saturday, I think it is, or Saturday to Sunday, where it's just this gigantic drop. And so next week it's obviously going to fail even more. Imagine that happening to the Justice League. I mean, it's just absolutely baffling to me that they keep doing this. Eventually, people are just not going to see the movies in theaters anymore because they know, oh well, I mean, a better version is going to come out on Blu-ray later on, and you know, you'll have the people like me who go to the theater anyway. But you know, there are a lot of people who aren't that or are more discerning than that and want to save their money. So if they get wind of the fact that, you know, after Batman versus Superman and Suicide Squad kind of flailed around in theaters with the money situation, they're not going to go to the movies anymore to see these things. They're just shooting the Warner Brothers is shooting themselves in the foot. And anyway, all right, so
I know we keep dwelling on this, but I'm not even joking. Like, this episode, this is one of the most important episodes I've ever done on my podcast, because after Suicide Squad and this whole debacle, like, Warner Brothers really needs to take a step back and really plan out what the hell they're going to do for Wonder Woman and Justice League next year, unless they want to run into this again and have a doubleheader of disappointment for people around the world. So, yeah, so that is that for that piece of news. Sorry, we went on a little long, but that just, it kind of irritates me when studios are like, hey, let's do the poppier, like, fast version with a bunch of random songs just thrown in there. It's just stupid. All right, so okay. First of all, before we move on, I have to say this real fucking quick, and I'm going to rip a new asshole on everyone that watches like free movies with those like stupid tickets or whatever. And I'm sure Joel knows where I'm going with this. Now, I've been a part of a focus screening one time. Now, I can't do it anymore because all the PR people in Dallas know who I am, and press people are not allowed to be in there. So I accept that. I'm fine with it. It's whatever. But I got into a screening of 99 Homes last year in February, like 8 months before it released. It was really cool and stuff. And at the end of focus screenings, they select like 10, 15 people and be like, would you like to talk about the movie afterwards? And a lot of people will say, yes, I want to do that. So what they'll do is they'll put you down in the front of the theater and they'll ask you, like, what'd you like about the movie? What'd you dislike? Now, the reason why I hate these fucking free screenings and these focus groups is because for the majority, these people are there to watch a free fucking movie. They don't know anything about film or filmmaking. And so when they go, well, I don't like the fact that this was really dark. You should make it a lot more fun and put a Jay-Z song in there and a Kanye song. Why? Why are you fucking listening to these people that have never made a fucking movie in their life? Now, I'm not going to sit here on my fucking pedestal and go, I'm some expert filmmaker. I have made amateur films and they all suck dick. However, these people do not know how to make a fucking movie. Why are you listening to these people? You are the executives. You are sinking in millions of fucking dollars into this project. You go with your gut. You go with the vision that you set out to do. Do not listen to these fuckers at focus screenings because all they're there to do is watch a free movie and then go home and watch fucking CSI and, I don't know, eat some popcorn and fall asleep. That's all they're there to do. Do not listen to them. That's why I hate focus screenings so much. At the end of 99 Homes, I sat there and I was like, I didn't really care for that scene because that kind of contradicted Michael Shannon's character in that scene. I was very detailed in what I said, and I said something that didn't really make sense story and character-wise. While these fucking people are going, Andrew Garfield needs to lighten up in the movie. He needs to be a little bit more happy. The fuck? That's not his character, you dumb shit. And so people will take that answer. They will take it back to the executives, and then they'll go, yeah, we should probably... No, this is an audience screening, which means they're the people going to see it, which means we need to change it. Bullshit. I fucking hate audience and focus screenings. We're not going to dwell on it, but go with your gut, Warner Brothers. Don't listen to people. All right. So speaking of that, speaking of alternate cuts and stuff, obviously there's going to be a lot of scenes left on the cutting room floor. This is one of them. Apparently, Jared Leto has come out and said that there's many deleted scenes of the Joker, and he actually said that they shot enough footage to where they could actually make a full-length feature of the Joker and stuff. So, because we're about to get to our Suicide Squad review, and I will just give a little hint as to, this portion of the review right now. Joker is not in it that much, and I hate the fact that the marketing was so Joker-heavy on their shit, and we got maybe, Joel, what would you say, like 10 minutes worth, if that?
Probably, if that.
Yeah, if that. So it kind of annoys me that they left all this footage on the floor when they could have really put that in there since they marketed the shit out of it with the Joker. So that's all I'll say about that is I would get really pissed if Warner Bros. Had an ultimate cut of Suicide Squad, but I am no means going to bash on them if they want to throw deleted scenes in the extras or whatever, because that's what, Blu-rays and DVDs typically have. So that would be nice to see on the Blu-ray and stuff. So Joel, what do you think about the fact that they left a lot of Joker footage out of the movie?
Sorry, I'm responding to the Facebook Live comments. Okay, so I'm, again, it's this idea that they need to have some ultimate edition of every single movie in the Warner Brothers DCEU, and it's just not true. I don't think that more Joker would do anything for this movie, especially this Joker. But it's so weird. I mean, it's just so weird. And I guess, it's sort of one of those two minds thing again. I do not like this Joker, but I kind of feel sorry for Leto in this case because he put so much effort into it.
Yeah.
And a lot of that effort was really creepy. Like, the gifts that he sent his cast members. Although some of his method was interesting. He apparently spent time with psychopaths. I don't know how you get that opportunity, but anyway, he spent time with psychopaths to sort of get, the mannerisms and get into their mindset. He put all that work in, and there's like 10 minutes of him in there, and not 10 good minutes. So I it's very confusing to me. It's very confusing to me.
Yeah, it's this whole mess is, like I said, this is a cautionary tale. Warner Brothers, please fix your shit before Wonder Woman comes out. I'm looking at the Facebook Live chat room, and Tabby, who is watching, she's one of my friend's wives. Joel, since he lives in Texas, she lives in Arlington, so she's actually not that far away from us. So she can actually come over here and kick my ass for talking shit about the marketing. And she says that they go to these focus screens and they ask people because they're the 99%. I am fully aware that me and Joel are part of this 1% who see like 1,000 movies a year because we have no lives. And I realize that the 99%, they're the ones that see the movie. However, they are the same group of people that will go, you know what, for Schindler's List, why can't Hitler just wear like a ballerina costume? It just makes sense, right? Like, and they'll take that to heart. So that's what I'm saying. Like, they'll have ridiculous claims and comments, and Warner Bros. Will run with it when they should really take in those comments as, criticism and go, what actually makes sense for the product as a whole. So I just wanted to say that real fast. So,
I mean, it's the mindset that the customer's always right.
Yeah.
And the customer's not always right. I can tell you that as a cashier at Target. The customer is right except for when they're wrong, and when they're wrong, it's about 9 times out of 10. And it's not, buyer behavior is great to watch, but if I were, somebody running a focus group, I would be very, very cautious about following that buyer behavior. It's something good to study, but it's not a good thing to follow a lot of the time.
No,
in this case, something like 99 Homes is a very bleak movie. It's a very blunt movie about the American dream, and you don't need to, make characters happy. It's just not.
Yeah, no, listen, I know we're drawing on this a long time and stuff, and Tabby, I agree with you. It is marketing, and that is a part of their job. They should take it as criticism and not as something they have to do to appease that one person that sees 5 movies a year. So so that's it for the movie news, guys. Sorry that we dwelled on for a long fucking time, but guess what? I got Joel on the podcast today. We're talking about some very divisive shit, so I'm really I'm kind of amped up. I just want to talk about all this stuff because it's just kind of boiling under my skin for the past fucking week. So yeah, that's it for the movie news, guys. What was your favorite piece of news, and what would you like to contribute to the conversation? Just comment down below and let me know. What the fuck? It says my battery's low on my phone, but it's plugged in. My phone's dumb, guys. All right, so let's talk about some movie trailers, and by trailers I mean trailer, because there was only one that dropped. And I'm just going to go first because it's a teaser, and this will probably be the quickest section that Joel and I do. It's Dunkirk, which is the new Christopher Nolan film. And, this is the guy behind Memento, Insomnia, the Dark Knight trilogy, Inception, Interstellar. He's a pretty well-known director and filmmaker and stuff. And my personal favorite is The Prestige. But
so was mine. Hey.
Yeah, no, dude, I'm a huge fan of magic in general. So any type of magic movies, I'm already sold. I don't even care what the movie's about. It could be about the greatest trick to get Pauly Shore out of the country, and I would still watch it. So no,
I would be behind that. I would be behind whatever trick that is.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So, no, he's a really cool filmmaker because he tries different genres. He tries different stories and stuff to tackle different characters and whatnot. So I really do appreciate what Chris Nolan does as a filmmaker. He's very inventive. So his newest film is Dunkirk, and it's a war film. So he's going to tackle a war film now, and it's just a teaser, and it shows a bunch of images and stuff of bodies on a beach, or that ending shot where the extra looks like he's fucking smiling, and the bomb is coming and they all duck in the carrier or whatever. It's just a teaser, but what I like about Chris Nolan's teasers is that he captures a tone, he captures an essence to all of his films. And this looks fucking epic. I love the color grading in it. I love the shot compositions. The cinematography is gorgeous. It's deep and rich and colorful, but still at the same time very dreary and drabful because of the subject matter and stuff. So I liked it. I can't wait to see a full trailer. So that's all I got to talk about because it is just a teaser. So Joel, what did you think about this teaser? And are you looking forward to the full trailer now?
Oh yeah, I'm a big fan of Nolan. There's one exception, and that is Inception. That's the only movie from him that I don't like. But I'm a big fan of the guy. I basically would just repeat everything you just said. I think that this movie has a killer cast.
Yeah.
Tom Hardy Love him. Cillian Murphy, Mark Rylance, Kenneth Branagh, of course, Harry Styles from One Direction. That's going to be the big talking point of that movie probably until it comes out, and probably until after it comes out. But James Darcy too. I love him. So I'm very excited to see a full trailer. He's working again with Hoyt van Hoytema, who was the cinematographer on Interstellar.
Nice.
And for people who like smaller movies, van Hoytema also did the original Let the Right One In. He did Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, I believe. And yeah, I mean, the guy's top notch. Oh, Her. He did Her with Spike Jonze, and I'm a big fan of his too. I love everybody behind this movie. Hans Zimmer, Lee, is the score guy. Lee Smith is the film editor. Nathan Crowley's production. All these people are great. It's one of my most anticipated next year. I've been wanting him to tackle war for a while. This is a director who can frame action with stakes to them. Even Inception, sort of superficial stakes, but he's one of our best action filmmakers. Even the Dark Knight trilogy. I know a lot of people don't like his action in those movies, but I do. And I've been waiting for him to tackle war because it's combat with stakes now, and it's a very interesting story. So I'm super excited for it.
Yeah, no, this is just one of those. Oh fuck. My phone just died. So all you Facebook Live peeps, I am sorry. I apologize. I guess I'm just gonna delete the post now. Yeah, so what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so that's it for the trailers, guys. What did you guys think of the Dunkirk trailer? Please comment down below. That's right below my face, and let me know. So guys, this is it. Let's get into the meat of the podcast, the one that you guys have all been waiting for. Everyone is really looking forward to the Suicide Squad and Batman the Killing Joke conversation. I do apologize for people that watched on Facebook Live because that sucks ass. Like, I guess my phone just overheated and it was like, nope, peace out. So, I apologize, guys. So, guys, let's get into it. Let's talk about that SS, that good old Suicide Squad. So, I don't know how to tackle this because my roommate and I just got back from it, and I walked out of the theater going, wow, this is almost like the same experience I had with BVS, where it's like there are some great moments, there are some good moments, there are some really horrendous moments, and it's choppy as all hell. And I'm just like, is this Warner Brothers thing now? Is this what they're going to fucking do for every single movie? So as I'm sitting here thinking, a few hours afterwards, I am okay with it, but I'm going to give it the upper hand just a little bit because it actually had a couple scenes that made me draw in to the film even more, and I actually want to see this franchise continue if they want to fix it and continue to do so. So yeah, that is my first impression of it. But I'm gonna let Joel go first on breaking the sections down, and then I'll contribute and stuff because Joel's got a different opinion than I do. So let's get real and break down Suicide Squad. So let's start with the obvious, which is the directing and writing, which is probably the biggest controversy throughout this entire film, and the way it's put together and the way the story goes and stuff. So Joel, let's break this up. Let's go with writing first. What are some of the positives in the writing before we get into the negatives?
I am going to have to bow out of positives.
Oh my God.
I think that this is one of the worst screenplays as it shows up on screen. We got a movie on screen. We got to talk about that first. And I think that as it shows up on screen, this screenplay has no direction to it. I don't mean direction as in a director, but although the director is the writer in this case. But and that's David Ayer, the guy who did stuff like Fury, which was really good. He wrote Training Day. I don't know what happened here. Obviously we know what happened, but generally, like philosophically, I don't know what happened here. But no, it's a completely tone deaf screenplay. It introduces characters, then reintroduces them again with no sense of any sort of structure. and then it shoves them into this random conflict with a terrible villain played by a hilarious actress who cannot do anything. I'm gonna get to that in a minute, but that's the structure. And there is no structure in this. It is one of the most directionless superhero movies I've seen in a while. Probably, like, in terms of this, it's slightly better, but in terms of this, it reminds a lot of last year's Fantastic Four in that sense. It's very slightly less awful than that. And Superman 3, not the fourth one, but the third one, which basically had no plot. This is the same way, and so the positives are non-existent to me. Then I guess we'll get into the direction. If we're gonna put them together, I guess the direction for me is flat. I think that the action is pretty flatly staged.
Damn.
Ayer's a guy that I respect. I think that he can direct action. Generally speaking, in terms of his previous movies, but this, it's really not so much action. It's just kind of images put together in something that slightly raises the pace of the movie. It's not really action to me. There's maybe one moment where Will Smith's character Deadshot, shows how skilled he is with his little arm guns, shooting the spore monsters that are attacking people for reasons that are completely non-existent. And for that couple seconds, it's pretty cool, maybe, but it's very flatly staged to me. It's not, the cinematography is neat, but the 3D presentation doesn't do it any favors, and his work behind the camera is not impressive to me. Zack Snyder did a much better job, whatever you might say about the guy, on Batman v Superman, even the theatrical cut. At least he has something of a vision. This didn't seem to have a vision to me. So I'm sorry to barrel straight into this movie with a negative attitude, but that's probably mostly what it's going to be for me on this podcast. I hated this movie. So anyway, your turn, sir.
Okay, thank you for the directing and writing portion. God damn, he took that into the stratosphere. Okay, so I respect Joel's opinion and stuff. I respect all opinion, because if I were to freak out like a fucking fanboy and, do something as stupid as try a petition to shut down Rotten Tomatoes, I would get mad at every single fucking person that hates Seth Rogen. And guess what? I've been getting that shit since I was 18 years old, and I proclaim my love to him and stuff. And the fact that I realize that comedy is subjective and stuff, and a lot of people like him and whatnot, I will go, you know what? That's their opinion. I want to hear it out and stuff. So I'm glad that Joel is talking with me about it and stuff, because it's nice to hear, a viewpoint from the other side. Now, however, but not going to be a fucking superhero and say, pun intended, and say that this movie was excellent, because it was not. I am still not in Joel's camp, though, and not say it's going to be god-awful. But I will say that there are bright moments in the script, and I could see what they were trying to go for. And I was just like, man, if certain scenes could have, or if the whole movie could have been like these certain scenes, it would have been amazing. So let's start with the writing first, and I will start with some of the positives. The positives I do have with the movie, in terms of the writing and the characters and the story and stuff, is not the whole story in general, because I still think it is kind of choppy and stuff. But some of the characters' backstories are really well written. I really like the way Deadshot was presented in his backstory. I like Harley Quinn's backstory and stuff. I like the Joker that is in there, even though I wish there was more of him. And my favorite one is probably El Diablo. And when you have those small moments like that, where they kind of show you these characters and really kind of put the perspective as to what they're going through and whatnot, I like that shit. My favorite part of the entire movie, and this is not a spoiler because it's in the trailer, is the bar scene. I love that bar scene. Everyone's talking, getting to know each other, really just kind of diving into each other's psyches and stuff, and just kind of, you can see each personality kind of come out of each person. I like that shit. That was great. And The smaller character moments, kind of the quieter moments around the movie, were what saved it for me in terms of not like bashing it super hard. But I do agree with Joel is that the plot, like with the supervillain, was so lame and it was just so underdeveloped. And I'm not going to say who it is because no spoilers. You guys know the rule. But the villain just happens and then just quickly dissipates. And you're like, well, I didn't have time to get to fucking know anyone. It just kind of fucking happened super fast. And you're like, okay, thank you. And so that's why I think those smaller character moments within the flashbacks, you know, saved the movie from being an abomination for myself. Because that's what you need to kind of slow the movie down from this like fast, chaotic, kind of messy action, like Joel said, images put together making no sense type of deal. That's what happened in a few scenes and stuff. And it was all over the place in terms of just action and plot and just getting everyone together. And the villain was just, dear God, super lame and just no development whatsoever. It just happens. And you're like, okay, I'll accept it. And it just ends. As far as the direction goes, I will say this for David Ayer. I think he's got a certain style that he was trying to go for. I do appreciate kind of like that. It was kind of like a comic booky, kind of like fun, dark type of mix. But I thought for like the most part, it didn't really mix well. And so it came across as like this really weird product from Warner Brothers that didn't even feel like a grounded movie at some points and just felt like, you know, fan service and wasn't really kind of structuring a narrative in a professional fashion or whatever. So I thought his style was there for the most part. It was fine and whatnot, but I feel like he could have done a lot more. And maybe that cut that he showed that was like, you know, that's too dark, whatever. Maybe that was the superior version. I have no clue. But going back to the writing, like I said, those smaller character moments with building the characters, that's what saved it for me. However, there are many moments throughout the movie, and this is a negative, where they will just have a character show up and then they're gone within 2 minutes. Or they'll have the Joker, which is heavily marketed, and he will only be there for 10 minutes. If you were going to shoot this much Joker, you should have made him the main villain. It would have made it more grounded to have a prince of crime running throughout Gotham, and you have these fucking psychotic people going after him and having Harley Quinn battle her, you know, inner emotions back and forth because she loves the guy, but then she's also got that thing lodged in her head to where if she fucks up, her head blows up. So that would have made a more compelling story than the fucking weird ass villain that we got that literally had no marketing at all because the whole marketing was showing the squad. It was not showing their threat or whatever. And so when the threat came on screen, it was not impactful whatsoever. So that would be kind of my thing on the directing and writing and stuff. I threw a lot of negatives at me. I did have some nice positives in there and whatnot. And I think out of the whole squad, my favorite character in terms of the way it was developed and just the way the character acted was probably El Diablo for sure, just because he had the best backstory that was executed very, very well. And I thought his character overall and just what he was about was dead on. So moving on to the acting. I'll take this one because, you know, Joel is probably going to rip it, but I'm just going to just say it very quickly. I think everyone's fine. Some of the dialogue is cringeworthy for some of the characters, especially Killer Croc, but I do like everyone's performances. I do like them all. I actually think that Jared Leto will become a great Joker. We just need to give him more time. We can't really judge it off of 10 minutes. However, that taste and that sampling that we got, I really appreciated. I like Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn. I think there's enough there that you could work with and kind of build upon, but I need to see more of her. I thought Will Smith's Deadshot was, pun intended, dead on with his character. I thought, you know, his backstory was really cool and stuff, and I thought he really kind of brought it with, you know, the emotions that he did give and whatnot. He is a stone cold killer, so he's going to be a little bit of emotionless, but I get that and whatnot. El Diablo, Jay Hernandez. I've been a fan of this fucking guy since Hostel, and I've always waited for him to kind of break out and do something with his career. This is good for him. I really, like I said, like his character. Jai Courtney, he's fine as Captain Boomerang. We don't really get to see him that much, so I can't really judge it. I will say I kind of agree with Joel on Enchantress, Cara Delevingne. I think she's a very talented and good-looking woman. But that role and her character and stuff with Enchantress, it didn't really suit her. But I can see that she was trying and stuff, but she wasn't god-awful by any means. Well, to me. But Joel has a different story. Joel Kinnaman, who plays Rick Flag, he was fine. And I think another standout was Viola Davis as Amanda Waller. You could see shades of like terror and just pure brutality in her character, and I want to see her character fleshed out even more if they ever make a sequel, which they probably will when we get to the box office results. But yeah, for the most part, everyone does fine, despite some of the characters not being on screen for a few minutes. And then, like I said, some of the dialogue was a little cringy. Like I said, Killer Croc especially. But for the most part, performance-wise, if we're talking strictly acting, I'm totally fine with everyone for the most part. Joel has a different story. So, Joel, come at me, man. I would like to know which ones really did not work for you. And did you have at least one performance where, like, I could see the greatness there, it just didn't really work for me?
I actually have more than one.
Okay.
The acting, for me, was the least of the film's problems, although there are a couple of really big problems with it. So I'm just going to kind of go in order of importance, I guess. So you have Will Smith as Deadshot. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Before I talk about that, I wanted to go back to one of your points about the writing because it specifically pertains to the characters and then to the performances. The actor's only as good as, or usually about as good as their material. They can elevate it sometimes, and I think that Will Smith does that. I don't think that the character is very interesting, and here's why. So each of these characters has about as much development, at least to me, as a trading card.
Okay.
You have all of these points delineated throughout the movie of what they've done and what has happened in the past. But to me, you didn't really get any sense of their personalities together. The movie didn't give that to us.
Okay.
You had one scene of them before they go off to the battle with spore monsters. I want to say that again, spore monsters. And you only had one of those, and they didn't really talk. It was weird. It was the scene with where Joel Kinnaman's character Rick Flag was laying all of it out for them. Telling them what was going to happen. The stakes involved, and then they go off, and they don't really. You have the bar scene, and that's fine, I guess. But that's so late in the movie. It's too late to me.
Yeah.
And so anyway, there's this. So I think that there's a difference between characteristics and character history. I don't get a sense of the history. You have Diablo, who accidentally. Well, I don't know if I should give anything away. I don't know. I've not read the comics. I don't know what maybe is in the movie is not in the comics or whatever. But you have a fairly emotional history for him. Probably the most emotional of the characters. And that's all you learn about him. That's all you learn about him. There's no commentary from him on his, apparent feeling, any sort of remorse for that beyond a general sort of remorse. And you never get into his character. You never get into Deadshot and his predicament with his daughter and Batman. And you never. It's just kind of like little talking points. Exactly what you would find on a trading card. Mm-hmm. It's not character depth. It's just like, oh, hey, look, this is the stuff from the comics that or at least it felt that way. But the performances, when it comes to that, I think that most of them are okay.
Okay.
I think that Jay Hernandez is fine. I think that Jai Courtney is fine, which is a surprise from him because I usually find him to be cardboard.
Yeah.
I do not like him at all, but I thought that he was fine here because he was given a little room to kind of be a little bit more charismatic. He's usually a robot. Maybe he learned a new program. I don't know. But then, and Viola Davis was fine. I'm not as she had a couple of interesting Harden moments, but she looked bored to me a bit. And then I thought that Adewale Akinoye Agbaje, I don't know how to say his name, but the guy who played Killer Croc, was straddled with this terrible, terrible, laughable dialogue. You didn't say it enough, but it's really bad dialogue.
It's pretty bad. I will agree with you on that.
He's the seems to me to sort of be the Groot of, except with more of a vocabulary of Groot. But anyway, I'm not interested in where he's going to go because he's barely in the movie. You mentioned that there's one character who's in there for 2 minutes, and it's Slipknot, played by Adam Beach, who's a really good actor. He's a character actor. He shows up in a lot of stuff that I've seen, at least, and he's kind of just there, and he barely has any dialogue, and then he exits the movie. And then, Joel Kinnaman is fine. I'm saying fine a lot. I'm going to get to the bad stuff here in a second. Almost everybody's favorite thing is something that I consider bad, and I'm going to get to her in a minute. But anyway, so who else was in that movie? Yeah, I think that's it. And then you get to the bad stuff. So here's the bad stuff for me, from least bad to most bad. The least bad for me is Margot Robbie. I like this girl. I've seen, I loved her in The Wolf of Wall Street. I loved her in Focus, but I gotta say, and I did like her in a little movie I wasn't a huge fan of the movie, but I liked her in Z for Zachariah from last year. But anyway, here though, it just seems to me, and I have a lot of friends who cosplay, so it's nothing against cosplaying. I've never partaken, but okay. Anyway, the outfit's fine, but she just seems to me to be a cosplayer trying really hard to play Harley Quinn. And she doesn't do a good job to me. She's over the top in a grating way.
Okay.
She has a really questionable New Yorker accent. She's Australian herself, I think.
Yeah.
She's sort of, giving a facsimile of an Australian accent, and a New Yorker accent. It doesn't work. Sounds like a put on to me, and the voice from whoever voiced her, I can't remember her name, but in the original animated series, did not sound like one, or it sounded like too much of one, which was the point, but this seems to be off to me. And it's just not a very good performance. There's nothing to her character except for some little stuff in really, really disruptive flashbacks that, only really go to show just how destructive her relationship with the Joker is as his former doctor. And it's not a very good performance to me. Then you have, and you're going to be surprised considering my comments earlier, but the second bad is Cara Delevingne, who is just embarrassing here. She, there's this Facebook acquaintance of mine who sent me a picture of one of those. They're outside a lot of car dealerships, I think, and they're like those balloon men where they put a fan underneath the butt of the balloon man and blow it up, and then he kind of flails his arms around. That is exactly what this character does. I'm not going to reveal what the context of that is, but that's exactly what it reminded me of. And that's all she does for half the movie is flail her arms around in a certain way because she plays a certain character. I'm not going to get into spoilers, even though I don't really care if people are spoiled. But it's just a really, really bad performance. She isn't good as June Moon or whatever her name is. She's really awkward, and then she's forced to say for half of her dialogue the name of the character, Enchantress, in order to activate the character. And then the makeup's funny. She glares at the camera, and then she's this flailing weird monster with a deep voice that sounds like it's a really throaty voice. It's just super bad. And then you have the worst. Now, you like Jared Leto. Oh boy, did I not like Jared Leto. He is the worst thing about this movie to me. And this is a movie with some awful things. This is a green-haired Ace Ventura. He is doing a Jim Carrey impersonation of no, I'm sorry. He's doing an impersonation of Jim Carrey being Ace Ventura doing an impersonation of the Joker. There's nothing to this guy. He's got these grills that are really annoying and distracting. He's got this weird vocal inflection that doesn't really fit an evil character. It's just goofy. There's no intimidation. I wouldn't feel intimidated by this guy in person. You know, all of this effort that Leto put into the role is a waste. It's just a waste because the character's not interesting. Maybe there's a whole other movie about him in there, but we got a movie, you know, in front of us right now, and the movie in front of us right now, he's awful in it. He doesn't fit the tone of the scene. He's just nothing about this performance to me works, or the character, for the record. And anyway, so yes, there's another rant. I'm just telling you people, expect this.
Okay, hey, listen, and I will counteract with I didn't think Jared Leto was super hammy. I thought like he was borderline there, but I thought for the most part I saw potential there on what could be a fairly disturbing Joker down the line when we see him again in the Batman films. Going back to the character kind of like backstories and development stuff and the whole trading card kind of feel. I agree with you with the trading card aspect because they literally do that technique in the beginning of the film when they're introducing everyone. So I will give you that. And I do like the little backstories between like El Diablo, Deadshot, Harley Quinn and stuff. But I guess the problem I have, and I forgot to mention it, but when Joel brought that up, it kind of I remember is why just those three? Why did and yeah, we saw Katana have like a somewhat of a backstory, but like her, Killer Croc, Captain Boomerang, nothing. And that's another complaint is that they did not devote equal time to everyone. They focused on more people than others, and that was kind of jarring to me a little bit. So, yeah, I forgot to mention that. And also, see, there's this when Joel's talking, it brings up little things. Forgot to mention the whole directing style. The fucking music that would pop up throughout random fucking scenes and sequences took me out of the movie.
It was every scene. Just about every scene had some sort of like half the budget was spent on this.
It's crazy. Like I just don't understand the aesthetic. But anyways, we're past that point. So, but going to the acting and stuff, I will agree with you on Cara Delevingne. I will not agree with you on Jared Leto and Harley Quinn or Margot Robbie. I think there's potential there. Yes, we did not see them at their full, like, crazy psychotic madness and stuff, but I think we're going to see that when Ben Affleck does his Arkham Asylum based movie and stuff. So I expect great things from them. But as far as like an introduction to them, I'm fine with, because Joker, as we saw, was not even supposed to be in there that much anyway. So I can't really like bash on him too much because he wasn't even in there that long for us to like fully kind of get a grasp of what his character is going to be like. So, but that's just me though. So moving on to cinematography. Now, as far as like comic book movies go, there are some that look really, really good, aesthetically colorful type of shots. And I got to be honest with you, Zack Snyder is one of the best. If you want to look at like 300 Watchmen or BVS or even Man of Steel, the guy knows how to compose a shot. He knows how to light it. He knows how to color grade it. I think he's got a very good visual artistic eye. As far as David Ayer goes, I didn't see any shots in this movie or the way it was just shot in general to like really stand out amongst like the average like superhero films and whatnot. And like Joel said, these action scenes, and I'm going to put them in air quotes, they were very quick and they were very dark and muddled. Like at the very end with the whole boss battle, it's a fucking dark ass like sequence. Like you can't even make out anything. And I'm just like, whose fucking choice was to do this? Like, I just don't get it. So the way it's shot, there's a lot of dark, unrecognizable scenes, a lot of bland scenes, and a lot of bland shots. There was really no risk taken from the cinematography point of view. Joel, I'm assuming you feel the same way.
I do, and
Okay.
and a lot of the movies this summer in terms of blockbusters has been super disappointing. But two of the best, well, really three of the best kind of blockbuster entertainments. Two are very obvious: Captain America and X-Men, and then the BFG to some degree. Were all in brighter locations, even if all those three were in 3D. And how you work with 3D is you make the movie bright because 3D will darken the image by 20%. And if you have a movie that's set at night or in a dark place, then it kills the action. And that's the thing that killed this movie, which is basically all of it's dark. And then you had Star Trek Beyond, a lot of which took place in space, which is obviously black to our eyes, and or just in a dark room or location. And then you had Independence Day Resurgence, absolutely the worst movie of the summer so far. Was a lot of that was dark. Warcraft was visually ugly even when it was bright. So the 3D didn't help that situation. And this suffers from the same problem. There's no reason for this movie to be in 3D. Absolutely no reason. There's no reason for most movies to be in 3D. I hate them. But there's no reason for this one to be in 3D because there's none of the little, silly little gimmick things where they throw something at the camera and it looks like it's coming out of you. And it just kills the cinematography. I think that there is a little, there's a bit of atmospheric quality to it. It's killed by the 3D, but I think that there's some color schemes that he works with that are interesting, at least theoretically. Maybe not in this movie, but those are all before the finale. The finale is a joke. There's nothing visually interesting there. A lot of it's killed by the stupid CG work that doesn't work at all ever. But there is their initial attack with these spore monsters. I just want to say again, spore monsters. I keep making that point because they are spore monsters. Sorry. Anyway, I'm just kind of throwing in a little dig at that because it's just the stupidest reason for an army ever. And then you have the Gods of Egypt reject it. It goes along with the villain. But anyway, there's not much interesting visually that's going on here on an effects level. But I think that in the early parts of the movie, it sort of emulates the visual style from Batman v Superman. Maybe not, as successfully, because I agree with you, Zack Snyder's honestly one of my favorite modern blockbuster filmmakers. I think he makes very interesting movies, and conceptually and visually. Love Sucker Punch, love Watchmen, love 300, love Man of Steel. I love the Ultimate Edition version of Batman v Superman. This doesn't have that panache. And anyway, so yeah, that's my thoughts. It's okay, but it's like everything else in the movie. It's way below its potential.
I agree. It's just when you look at films like Man of Steel or BVS, I absolutely love those films, and I love the look of them. I love the visual style that Snyder brings. But Joel's right. This didn't have any of that, and David Ayer is more well known for kind of grounded, gritty, type of raw films with End to Watch and Training Day. And I never saw Sabotage, but just looking at the trailer, it had that grit feel. This did not have that. It had a very polished Hollywood look to it. And I'm like, who actually shot this? Who actually chose the visual?
It's really sad because it's the guy who shot Fury with him. And I don't know if he shot Sabotage. I didn't see that either. I don't know who was the cinematographer on that. But the cinematographer on this one is Roman Vasyanov, who shot Fury with him. And Fury, I think, had some of the best cinematography that year. I believe that it made my list. I make nominations at the end of every year, my personal ones, and that one I think was in or just outside of. And it was great imagery, great war imagery, especially. And here, it's like his style is neutered. It's just Hollywoodized.
And
except for the early moments with, especially with Deadshot. I think that they shoot Will Smith well in this movie. And he's a very attractive man, and you have to do that, and they do that here. They really take advantage of his movie star presence. In fact, I think that pretty much everything about this movie that is good, and it's very, very little, everything is tied to Will Smith. Whether it's the writing of the character is weak, I think, but there's a kernel of interesting stuff there that they don't really take advantage of, but it's there. And then you have, the cinematography. The best shots in the movie are of him or involve him in some way. And
I think
very, very few of them. Maybe behind him when he's shooting down those spore monsters. Again, spore monsters. Anyway.
I think why the cinematography feels so bland and so flat is because the CGI for a big budgeted $125 million budget movie, the effects are very, very poor. Like when Enchantress is, floating around her bum dirt, it doesn't look good. It looks like a fart cloud, and it looks like, the aftermath of the Green Lantern villain. And I don't understand what these big budgeted movies, like, you're putting all your resources into getting your actors and getting all this shit. Yes, that is good. That's what you need to do. Get some talent. But if you cannot deliver with, the fantasy sci-fi aspects of your movie, and it looks like, something that someone did on Windows Movie Maker, it's going to really stick out. And that's what really made the cinematography kind of fall flat for me, was some of the effects were just downright atrocious. And getting into that with like the whole like editing and special effects and whatnot, the editing itself, like I said, it's very sloppy, and it's very kind of like just super choppy, and like we'll have one scene here, flashback there, and then we'll have that happen over here and stuff, and we'll have maybe a small character moment over here. So even with my positives of the film, with like some of the characters and some of the aesthetic of the film, I do realize that this is a BVS situation again, where it does feel choppy as hell. And I'm just thinking to myself, I just want to strangle Warner Brothers and go, Warner Brothers, I want to like your movies, okay? I like Man of Steel and BVS Ultimate Cut. So don't think that I'm just some DC hater. I want to help you. Please, for the love of God, if you have a strong fucking cut of a movie, do not hack in just random places and shove together the sequences that make no sense. You have to have a better flow to your movie. Now, granted, there are a few sequences in the film that I found entertaining or somewhat fun to watch. But for the most part, as a structural story, it was very choppy in a lot of places, and it had the BVS effect. And I just don't understand, with 2 times in a row now, how you can just sit back and go, yep, that was fine. So for Wonder Woman, like I said, please, for the love of God, just look at your year in 2016 and go, yeah, we should probably change some shit. So, Joel pretty much, talked about the way the movie flowed and stuff. He's not a fan of it. I'm going to tell you guys this right now. I like certain aspects of it. Don't really care for other aspects, but I can see the potential there to continue and further the storyline with, like what Joel said, little kernels, little nuggets thrown in there that will interest you even more. I gotta be honest with you guys, as a comic book and superhero fan, this film is very average and bland compared to most of them. And this year alone, this is our 5th one. This is the weakest one by far. I like Deadpool quite a bit. Love BVS Ultimate Cut. Love Civil War. Love Apocalypse. I actually love Apocalypse. Sue me. But this one, it's just, there's nothing that was new. There was nothing that was thrown on its head, and you had so much opportunity and so much material, considering the fact that these are villains. You could have gone in the most dark, sadistic route, and I probably would have liked it even more, because it is something different amongst everything else we've gotten this year. Even with the nuggets of greatness, I still see, like I said, the blandness of it, the terribleness of it. I still want to see it again, which I am, this next Wednesday or whatever, and maybe my mind will change. I have no clue. But as of right now, I'm going to give you my grade, and then Joel's going to give you his grade. Guys, even though I liked some of it and some of those smaller character moments saved it for me, I can't really rate it that high. I'm going to go ahead and give Suicide Squad a C+. So, sorry, I wanted to love it. It's just a little bit above average for me. It's just okay, let's move on to Doctor Strange this year. So, Joel, what is your grade? Where are you going to give this thing? I know you hate it, but like, even though with those nuggets of hope, are you going to like alter your grade just a hair up?
No. So I guess you had your little run through of the superhero movies this year. I love the ultimate cut of BVS. I like Deadpool and Apocalypse. I really like Civil War. This is an enormous step down.
Yeah.
In quality. And I gotta be honest with you, I'm going with a D-.
Damn.
I know. So here's a thing for you, all you DC fans out there. That's the same rating I give Batman and Robin. That's the level that I'm putting this movie on. And actually, I think it's slightly less good than Batman and Robin, because at least Batman and Robin had something of a personality to it. It had great art direction. That was it, but it had great art direction. This one doesn't even have that really. And so yeah, a D-. It might seem harsh, and it probably is a bit. I'll see the movie again probably when the Ultimate Edition comes out, because I'm fascinated by this movie.
Yeah.
I hate it. I am fascinated by it.
Yeah, no, as much as I ragged on Warner Bros. For doing an ultimate cut, you're still going to get my money. I still want to see it. But don't do the ultimate cut. That's what I'm telling you. Like, try to refrain from it. Do just the theatrical edition, maybe with some deleted scenes thrown in there. But if you do an ultimate cut, I'm going to contradict what I just said earlier. I'm probably going to buy it, but please don't do it 2 times in a row. That's all I'm saying, because it makes you guys look really fucking bad. So just release the theatrical edition with deleted scenes. Hide it as a ultimate cut. Would just say, watch the deleted scenes, then picture it in your head. So I don't know. Warner Bros. Just figure your shit out, because I'm contradicting myself and I sound like an idiot right now. So, yeah, so that is our review of Suicide Squad, guys. And before I get into my Batman the Killing Joke movie review, we're going to do something different. So there was a news story that dropped, and I hinted at it earlier in the podcast, and I really wanted to talk about it in the news, but Joel suggested we talk about it after Suicide Squad, because, it would flow better with the talking points and whatnot. And I was like, yeah, I totally agree. So, Joel, before I get into my Batman the Killing Joke review, would you like to explain to the peeps out there what news story we're going to be talking about pertaining to Suicide Squad?
Yes, absolutely. So this is going to be maybe not one of the longer parts of our. It's going to be a very long podcast this week, and this is one of the reasons, is because in the weeks leading up to Suicide Squad, or in the week leading up to Suicide Squad, its reputation as a bad movie kind of came about through the critics. This early buzz started, and then DC Comics fanboys, and I use that word because we're going to get into the word fanboy here in a second. Fanboys decided that they thought that there was some sort of bias against DC Comics movies. And they wanted to shut down Rotten Tomatoes, and they actually put a petition on petition.org, which is a major petition website. Stuff where like they actually have to pay attention to it if it happens. And so they wanted to shut down Rotten Tomatoes. This is ridiculous. So here's what happens. DC Comics fanboys want the movie to be a certain way. When the movie appears to be a certain way from carefully constructed trailers, they decide they are going to go ahead and attach this idea that the movie's already good on it. So then when critics bash the movie because they think that critics are, really joyless people, they think that there's a bias that sets in when a so-called pattern starts. And so that led to a major rift, a further rift really, between critics and the fan base, the fanboy base. So I gotta get into this. The fanboy label is a misnomer. I'm gonna say this right now, and I'm gonna fearlessly state it, because I realize that there are a lot of people who are fans of things, but fanboys are not fans of anything. I'm just going to say that right now. I am probably the biggest fan of Harry Potter that you can meet. I think I love that series. I know everything about it. But I am not a Harry Potter fanboy because fanboys cannot be pleased. There's no way to please these people because of a very simple reason. Well, not a simple reason. It's a pretty complex reason, but one reason. So let's say somebody had made a perfect Suicide Squad or Batman versus Superman movie. Those people would have complained anyway because of the fact that the movies were borrowing iconography from their beloved comic books. Now, from the other end of the spectrum, a lot of fanboys complained that it wasn't anything like the comic books. Do you see, listeners? Do you see the conundrum here? The endless cycle that develops. The fact that they can't be pleased if it's exactly like what it should be, and they can't be pleased because it's nothing like what it should be. There's no middle ground. There's no middle ground between those 2 points. There's a bit of creative license, and they don't like that either because it's not like what they want it to be. But there's no adherence to the original source material because they think that's borrowing their precious iconography. That's the problem here. And I think that the DC Comics fanboy base is probably the worst fanboy base of anything. And there's some bad ones. You know, Harry Potter's lucky because a lot of those are fairly reasonable people. But the worst ones, I would say probably Star Trek, DC Comics, and Marvel to a certain extent. Again, the fanboys. I'm not going after the people who like this stuff and are, welcome to the idea of something a little bit different. But when you start attacking critics for what you think is bias, that's a problem with you, not the critics. That's a problem with you not understanding 2 things. The first thing is how Rotten Tomatoes works. And I'm going to explain that for you. How this works is that there are a bunch of reviews that somebody over at Rotten Tomatoes conglomerates into a percentage. A percentage is placed upon it, and it's put on the website. And then there's another rating that people never actually pay attention to, and that's the average rating, which is out of 10. It's not the percentage, it's right below it. And that's actually more accurate to how critics feel. So, I saw somebody complaining about the fact that if something is splattered with a rotten thing, a little green splatter, there's no nuance. But there is if you click a button, and it's called See Full Review. It's very useful. You read the review, and then you find out how they feel. You don't just look at the little blurb that comes along with it, which is obvious, honestly, that's a lot of the time, that's applied by the editor of Rotten Tomatoes. Sometimes, yeah, if the critic has control of their own page, fine. But a lot of the times, it's an editor of Rotten Tomatoes that puts that blurb on there. So you got to read the actual review to find out the meat of their problem. And if people did that for a long period of time, then they would understand how this thing works. But right now, they don't. The other thing that they don't understand is how critics work. That's a bit of a longer thing that I'm not going to hugely get into. But critics are not biased against any particular thing. I mean, okay, fine, there's some bias. I'm biased against bad filmmaking. I guess I'm a terrible person in that regard. But they are not biased against genres. They might prefer some genre to another genre. I know a good friend of mine out in D.C. is a horror nut. He loves horror movies, so maybe he's a little bit, or maybe it appears to be that he's a little bit, less lenient or more lenient, but he's actually not. He just has a different mindset about that genre than some people might dislike the genre. So, if anything, I feel like there's a bias amongst the regular, quote unquote, the regular moviegoers who choose not to see movies, just because of the trailer. That's bias. The critics don't have bias. The critics, some of them are paid to do this, and even those who are not paid, and there's a lot of people who are not paid for this, because it's basically, it's well, actually, I forget what kind of a market it is. Forgot the economic term, but anyway, it's not a good market for paying critics anymore. And it's not the days of print. And that was more, with Paul and Kyle and Roger Ebert. And these people work a certain way, and that is they go in cold, they watch the movie, they go home, they write about it, and they enjoy doing that. There's no agenda here. And so the big news story here is the fact that there's such an animosity toward critics that they want to shut down a site that they don't actually understand. They don't understand how this works. And anyway, yeah, so I'm sorry. That was partly a rant, partly a news story. But that's the gist of this. They want to shut down a site because of the bad reviews of a movie that they didn't even see. The petition showed up, I'm pretty sure, like Thursday or Wednesday. So it was before they even saw the movie. You had in the older days of Rotten Tomatoes, before Dark Knight Rises came out, you had the ability to comment. And so the comments on the website were a treasure trove of death threats, of really worse kind of threats, and physically assaultive threats. And it's just that they've now taken to Twitter and they've taken to petition.org to kind of vent their spleen on us. They've taken to these other places, and it's maddening. And yeah, that's the final bit of news of the week, I guess.
Yeah, no, listen, I'm just going to say this. Guys, I'm 26 years old. I don't like getting into internet drama. It's not really my deal. I encounter people that bitch and moan about movies I review every single day. I encounter trolls every single day. It doesn't faze me anymore because guess what? All trolls are, and all the whiny little fucking babies out there that just hate when you bash something that they like. They're 15 years old. They don't know any better. They still eat at their parents' house. They still live in their parents' house, and they suck on their mom's tit for lunch every single day. So they're not mature adults. So you have to give them that benefit of the doubt. They're children. They're little petulant, whiny, entitled children that just think that their thing is getting shit on. And I just, when you get older, you realize that's fucking dumb. Now listen, just like Joel, I am a film fan. I am a fanboy of, like Marvel and DC and all these comic book stuff because I really appreciate the genre. I have never once fucking looked at a Rotten Tomatoes score and go, oh my God, all those motherfuckers gave something I liked a shitty grade. That doesn't work that way. You know what I look at that number and I go, well, that's unfortunate. I guess I'll have to go decide for myself, which is what you should fucking do. Why are you looking at other, reviewers and stuff and, Rotten Tomatoes numbers and going, well, I'm just not going to see a movie because they said so. The fuck? You were going to go see it regardless. So first of all, why are you petitioning? And second of all, go see it for yourself and decide after that. Now, if you want to be a blind fanboy and watch something and think everything is just fucking magical and fantastic, that's all on you. You'll never have an open mind. You'll never have different opinions and stuff. You'll just always, you're probably voting for Donald Trump. So anyways, listen, here's the deal. I'm not going to sit here and praise every single comic book movie. I just told you I gave a Suicide Squad a C+. I think it's just a little bit of above average movie, while Joel fucking hated it. I hate Fantastic Four from last year. That is an example right there where I am not fucking blind and I go, there were a lot of fucking problems there. Even this entire year, I only gave Civil War an A+ because I firmly believe it nailed it on the directing, writing, acting, cinematography, action scenes, emotion, music. Everything all came together as a one cohesive, magical experience known as a film, and that's why I gave it a high praise. Now, other comic book stuff I've given, like B's and C+ and stuff because I realized some of the flaws because I'm not fucking blind. But just like Joel said, you cannot fucking just shut down something because of a movie that critics have seen that you have not seen yet. That makes you look like a little fucking baby child that has to, mommy, give me your tit. I need some lunch. Like, that's what you sound like right now. You're just a little fucking child that feels entitled because no one likes the thing that you like. Got some advice for you. Fucking grow up. One of my friends that I do reviews for and stuff, he's a cool guy. I have no problems with him because you know what? We disagree on every single movie for the most part. And he hates Seth Rogen. Am I going to sit there and be like, I'm going to try to shut down your fucking site because you hate Seth Rogen? No. It's a difference of opinion. I go, well, okay, cool. You don't like him? I like laughing at fart and dick jokes. Like, sue me. So when you get older and you get past, the age of maturity and stuff, you're going to realize what you're doing is fucking stupid and you shouldn't do that because you could ruin people's lives. Just like Joel said, Rotten Tomatoes is not a review site. They do not review movies. It is a system where they get reviews from all over the fucking internet. If me and Joel got certified, we could throw our review in that mix and it would count towards that 30 or 12 or whatever fucking percent it's at now. So it takes everything and just makes a fucking number based on the amount of positivity versus negativity, and it does it that way. And it gives you, hey, 27% of the people that review this film out of the 200 plus movies liked it. That's not that good. And you go, okay, so it's a very divisive movie amongst people. But you can't look at that and go, well, they're so biased because they're giving it bad reviews. Do a little research, first of all, and know what Rotten Tomatoes is. And second of all, they've given DC movies positive grades before. Look at The Dark Knight, arguably one of the best comic movies ever made. Do you know what that fucking score is? It's in the high 90s, motherfucker. Look at most of the animated stuff. They give that high praise as well. They gave Batman Begins high praise. Even The Dark Knight Rises, which is the most divisive Nolan movie out of the three, still has a fresh rating. So it's not DC movies. It is specific movies that are either bad or okay to some people, and that needs to come from the higher-ups and it comes from the studios to fix that shit. Okay? Like, there's a reason why BVS and Suicide Squad and Man of Steel are getting really bad reviews because they're very divisive with people. But it's like what Joel said. Like, where were you when, I don't know, they gave The Dark Knight a high score? Like, where were the Marvel fanboys at? There weren't any because they don't exist. Like, you guys, you fucking rabid pieces of shit. Like, why are you starting Rotten Tomatoes? I feel dumb talking about it because it's these 15-year-old little kids that think they're fucking cool listening to My Chemical Romance in their basement while eating Cheetos going, man, I fucking hate life. Like, that's what you guys are. You're kids. Go to school, have fun, and stop bitching about movies and trying to ruin a website that doesn't even fucking do what you claim it does. You morons. Okay, that's it. That's all I'm going to talk about because I'm going to get off my soapbox now because I'm an adult. Yeah, so what do you guys think about the whole Rotten Tomatoes thing? It's pretty ridiculous if you think about it. Any sane person will think it's ridiculous. And comment in the place where I'll put my face and let me know what you thought of the whole debacle. And speaking of a divisive movie, once again, that caused a lot of internet hailstorm, that would be Batman the Killing Joke. Now, Joel didn't get a chance to see it, so I'm just going to talk about it real fast. So, you know what, Joel? Sit back, relax, and hopefully I can convince you that this is a pretty decent little movie, and I think a lot of people are unjustifiably shitting on it. So, so when the Batman the Killing Joke came out, and it premiered at Comic-Con, I was super excited for it. I was excited to see people's reactions and stuff and see how people were reacting and stuff. And this will go back to the Rotten Tomatoes thing. A lot of people were disappointed. I was like, okay, well, it's not what I expected, but hey, I'm going to go in there with an open mind and give it a shot. You know why? Because I'm a fucking adult. I know it's weird, right? I watch a movie and form my own opinion. But I was watching other reactions and reviews and stuff, and a lot of people were disappointed. So I was like, okay, so I was expecting praise or whatever because, it's a very highly anticipated graphic novel adaptation. So I didn't get that, but hey, let's watch and see how it is. So I actually bought it blind buy. I was really excited for it because the trailer sold me on it, and it was the second DC anime movie I ever bought. I watched it the first time. I liked it. I was like, okay, it was pretty good. I watched it a second time with a different mindset and understanding of why they did certain things that people are disagreeing with, and I like it even more. I actually like this movie a lot, and I borderline love it. So let's get real and break this down, and I'm going to discuss all the little controversies that people have with this entire movie. Now, let's start with the writing and directing. In terms of the writing, the actual Killing Joke graphic novel is a very, very short book. And literally the second half of the movie is the actual adaptation. So you can't really just release a 45-minute film into theaters. There's guidelines. You have to have it at a certain length. So they had to add some stuff to kind of lengthen that, and it pads out to about 77 minutes. And so the first half is kind of like a Batgirl prologue, kind of showing her what she does with Batman and stuff, showing where she's at in terms of her psyche and her character and whatnot. That way, when you get to the Killing Joke part, you feel a little bit more for her character instead of just jumping right into the Killing Joke going, okay. So in terms of the first 30 minutes, because that's what people are bitching about the most, I actually really like it quite a bit. And you have to look at it from a few different angles. One, Batgirl is young, and she's still kind of new at the whole Batgirl kind of thing with Batman. And you can see that. And Bruce even says that himself, that this is still a thrill for you. This is not real life and stuff. And so she's still kind of like an immature little 20-year-old kid that doesn't really know better. And so she's kind of, what's the word? I guess more fragile in her emotions and stuff. And so they're chasing this villain. And this isn't spoilers. I'm just kind of just basic story points. I'm not going to give you like specific details, but they're chasing a villain who kind of resembles like a Joker light type of character. He's not the Joker per se, but he has attributes of the Joker, and Batman even specifically says that to Batgirl, going, this guy's a narcissist, he's diabolic, he's destructive and stuff, please be careful. And she's like, I've got this and whatnot. So she's kind of got the whatever millennial attitude, which, you know, I'm guilty of doing myself. And Batman's a lot older, and she is trained with him and stuff, and he's telling her, listen, you don't know what this job is like. You haven't been pushed over to the deep end yet. You haven't been pushed into that darkness yet. And so he's talking about the Joker. And I thought that was really interesting that she hasn't really gotten to that point yet. Batman has gotten to that point. And we're kind of seeing this being reflected with this guy that they're going after. He's kind of like a Joker light to get Batgirl prepared for what's about to come down the pipeline. So, you know, towards the end of that 30-minute prologue, you know, Batgirl snaps. I'm not going to say what she does, but she snaps. And, like, you can see that something broke within her to really kind of go malicious on this villain. And you go, oh, wow. Like, this is the whole theme of the movie, because that's what the Killing Joke is about. The Joker is trying to prove a point. You know, everyone, all it takes is one bad day. And when you hit that bad day, you're going to snap, you're going to go crazy. And the Joker is basically proving a point that anyone can be him. And he's not the crazy one. Everyone is crazy to a certain degree. And so I thought the first half kind of really accentuated that. It wasn't as emotionally impactful. I will give you guys that. But in terms of the way it is constructed, I thought it was a nice mirror for her character to show kind of like, you know, what Batman was talking about. Like, you need to be pushed over to that edge and really, you know, take the job seriously and stuff. So I thought that aspect of that, the first 30 minutes worked very, very well. I like the way the characters were presented. I like the sequences in terms of the action and whatnot. I thought that was really well handled. As you can see, I'm breaking this up into segments because it literally is like two separate movies, and that is a pro and a con at the same time. So with, you know, the first 30 minutes, like I said, I thought Batman was set very well. The only con I have with the first 30 minutes is that some of the dialogue did feel a little cheesy, felt a little wonky and stuff. And I was like, for an R-rated kind of mature Batman movie, it's not really clicking for me. But it wasn't like something to like take me out of the movie or like bash this movie like everyone says it is. And in terms of connecting to the second portion of the movie, I will say, yes, it does feel like two separate entities, but I can still see that connected tissue there. Because in the second half, you know, Batgirl, Barbara Gordon, whatever, she kind of sees like what Batman was talking about on what it means to go to the edge and what some people do when they go over to the edge and whatever. So for myself personally, I found connective tissue, but I can see where it can be abrupt for some other people. Second thing I have to address. This is a minor spoiler, so I'm sorry, but I'm not going to give into detail what it is, but there is a sexual scene with Batman and Batgirl that literally lasts 20 goddamn seconds that people are losing their dick over. Okay, so I thought that scene was fine. It was whatever. It didn't really enrage me because you want to know why? If you look into the history of Batgirl and Batman, they have had sexual tension in the past. Now, this is an adaptation. It is an interpretation. You can put that in there and it still won't mess with the lore of Batman and stuff. But I found the sex scene understandable because this is a girl who is the daughter of Jim Gordon, who is Commissioner Gordon. So she's got some daddy issues. Daddy's not home a lot and stuff, so she has to feel like she has to be a part of something, go out and fight crime and be a vigilante and stuff. So she finds Batman, and he's like a mentor. You guys have to think of it like this. They've been, he's been a mentor for her for so long that when she got to a certain age, a very mature woman, you're going to have that sexual tension there because you're going to see them as, maybe as a father figure, and she does have daddy issues, or, she might see him as a lover and stuff, and she doesn't really go out that much. She hangs with Batman all the time at night. So I can see that sexual tension, if it did happen down the road, as a plausible thing because they do work together. They're both damaged individuals. It's something that's not out of the ordinary. So I don't know why people are flipping their shit for it. And it's only a 20-second scene. I don't even think it's that. I think it was like 15 seconds. So that did not bother me. And that's for the first half in terms of like writing and directing and stuff. I thought it was a very good prologue. For the second half, yes, it is a better portion of the film. And I like the way the Joker was introduced. I love his origin story and stuff. Everything that was like psychologically damaging that he did to like Commissioner Gordon was really kind of creepy and stuff. And it was something that you want out of a Joker versus kind of Batman type of movie and stuff. And Joker really does push Batman over the edge. And I'm not going to say how the graphic novel ends because it doesn't end the same way in the film, but it's a very controversial ending to some people. But for me personally, I thought it was kind of more disturbing, if anything, even though it was very simple because of what Joker was trying to prove. And he was actually kind of right. Like when the way the movie ends, you go, Joker was trying to prove a point. I think he's right. Like the way it ends, I'm like, yeah, I believe it. And there's a lot of theories floating around and stuff on like what actually happens, and there's a lot of creepy ones. And I really kind of adore the theories and stuff. And I actually imagine one of the theories actually playing out and stuff, and it actually makes the ending a little bit more unsettling. So as far as the directing and writing goes, I think it is strong overall, except for the dialogue can be a little cheesy, and the actual transition in between both parts is a little rough, but the connective tissue is there. The voice acting, superb. Nothing bad to say. Even the 2-bit gang members and villains, all really great. Kevin Conroy is Batman. Mark Hamill is the Joker. You saw a lot of humanity within this interpretation and stuff. You saw a lot of backstory. You saw a lot of creepy aspects and stuff. So there's a lot of range within him. Tara Strong did Batgirl. Fantastic. Voice acting, nothing bad to say. Cinematography wise, it was a very weird blend of like CG, hand-drawn, and even kind of like an anime style in some scenes. I think it works for the most part. I really like the dark, grim set pieces within Gotham. I think it looks like Gotham. It's really well handled. The only problem I have with the cinematography is that sometimes the CG, like the very plasticky look, like kind of in the background, kind of doesn't really mesh well with the hand-drawn stuff in the foreground. So that's only in a few scenes, but it's not like too bad. But for the most part, it sets Gotham out perfectly to be a dark, seedy, sweaty place. It's like the armpit of the country, and it totally works in that aspect. Editing-wise, for a movie that's 77 minutes, I think it's a perfect length. It works out just fine. Like I said, the first half, great setup. Second half, great payoff and kind of a weird psychologically disturbing ending or whatever, even though it was really simple. So I thought the editing and kind of like the pace of the story was dead on. A lot of people will see the first 30 minutes as slow and unnecessary. I think differently after seeing it twice. Guys, let me just say this right now. I've seen a lot of DC animated films. This is one of my favorites. I really liked Kind of like the whole, all it takes is one bad day, and really pushing people to the edge and stuff, and how it can be anyone. And there's just it's a very mature Batman. I love that shit. I guess the last thing before I give my grade, to the R rating, because I know the R rating was kind of a big deal. Didn't really see the R rating used to its full potential. There was a lot of psychologically damaging stuff at the end, and there was a lot of violent scenes with a lot of blood squirts. But I own The Dark Knight Returns on DVD, and that's the animated one, and I watched that, and that was really violent. That was PG-13. So I don't know. I personally didn't see the reason for an R rating, but I guess whatever sells, right? I bought it, so you fooled me. But overall, guys, I think it's a very solid adaptation. I just gave you my points on why I backed up the sex scene and the first 30 minutes. So haters don't understand what's the problem, even though most people like the second half. I'm going to give Batman the Killing Joke a B+. I think it's a very solid film, and I would go back and watch it any day of the week. So, Joel, before we get into the box office, what do you think about my review of it? Do you feel a little bit more at ease now? Would you still want to see it? Just give me your overall thoughts on what you think it will be.
I no longer want to see it. I'm just kidding. No, I've been wanting to see it ever since I heard it was made or being made. The idea of a bit of an edgier kind of movie was very interesting to me. I actually haven't read the comic, but I know generally speaking what happens, and I think that it sounds like an interesting project for sure. I love Mark Hamill coming back to voice him. To voice the Joker, and I just love the character of Joker in general. This is an interesting story, even if I haven't read it. I'll definitely see it. I'm interested for sure.
Awesome. So yeah, if Joel, when you see it, please let me know what you thought of it, because like I said, it is very divisive, like a Suicide Squad. So I'm curious to know your thoughts. So with that being said, guys, speaking of movies coming out this week, let's talk about some box office results and in this podcast strong. This has been a really fun, probably one of my favorite ones. I mean, shit, we went on some rants, man. So, Joel, you know the drill. So, try to guess the top 5 for the weekend.
Okay, I'm pretty sure the only one I try not to pay attention to it a lot, just background noise for me, but I did sort of pay attention to Suicide Squad. I'm pretty sure that's number 1. Let's see. I am going to say that 9 Lives, which I did see, by the way, and that movie was also well. That movie was bizarre. But anyway, I'm going to say it's probably not even in the top 5. I'm going to say, let me think. Number 2, I'm going to say number 2. Star Trek Beyond. Number 3 is Jason Bourne. I would be lying to myself if I didn't say that those are the top 3. And then trying to think of what's coming out. Ice Age might still be in. No, I think that one kind of did very well. I'm gonna stop there. I don't really know. I'm gonna just say that the top 3 are Suicide Squad, Star Trek Beyond, and Jason Bourne.
Joel, thanks for playing. Number 5 actually is Star Trek Beyond with 10.2 million, and right now as it stands, domestically, which is the U.S. and Canada, it's 127 million. Worldwide, it's at 194. However, the budget is 185, and if you double that, that's 370, I believe, to break even. That is a hefty toll to get and stuff. So I don't know if they can do it, to be honest with you. I enjoyed it. It's a nice, fun movie and stuff. But, yeah, sorry. All right, so number 4, The Secret Life of Pets with 11.
I didn't know if that was still in there. I was on the verge of predicting that would be number 4 or something. And I guess I would have been right.
No, so it made 11.5 million this weekend, and right now worldwide, this thing's a monster. It's made 500 million. Dear God, so that sequel makes even more sense now. Number 3 is Bad Moms with
I forgot about that.
14.2 million. It's getting a lot of money. Like, I'm actually really impressed because John Lucas and Scott Moore, the directors and writers who wrote the first Hangover, they haven't really had a hit since then. So the fact that they made their movie for $20 million and it's made 56 worldwide, which means it's already doubled its budget, which means it's already in the green for profit. That's fucking impressive.
Yeah. I hope that they do a sequel. I liked that movie quite a bit. I thought that it was very funny. And I loved all the cast members, and I think that they need a sequel. I want another movie with those characters, especially Catherine Hahn's character.
Oh yeah, no. Listen, I guess I can give like a little mini review. I thought the movie was fun. It was entertaining stuff, nothing special. But if I gotta say this, so if Melissa McCarthy can get nominated in 2011 for Bridesmaids, why can't Catherine Hahn get nominated for this one? Because she was fucking awesome.
I think that there needs to be a petition. They don't need a petition to shut down Rotten Tomatoes. They need
right.
A petition to get Catherine Hahn an Oscar nomination. She deserved it.
Oh, it was a great performance. I've been a huge Catherine Hahn fan since Step Brothers. And the thing is, here's a little funny story for Bad Moms, is when I went there, it was the 10 a.m. screening and stuff, so there was hardly anyone there. It was like me and like a couple of like older ladies in there and stuff, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But the guy actually, one of the ushers, he came in behind me, and once I sat down, he looked confused, and I was like, "What's going on, man?" He's like, "Are you lost?" And I was like, "No, this is Bad Moms, right?" He's like, "Yeah, you just you looked like you were going to Suicide Squad and you went to the wrong room." And I was like, "Do I give off like that hardcore nerd vibe?" And he was like, "You kind of do." And I was like, "Dude, I'll take that as a compliment, man. I love that. Thank you." So yeah, that was like a nice little story. I was like, "Do I look like a hardcore nerd?" And I guess with the glasses and the clothes, I guess I do. So yeah, that's cool. So number 2 is Jason Bourne with 22.7 million. This thing's a powerhouse. Domestically, it's already crossed the $100 million mark, and worldwide, it's 5 million away from hitting that 200 million mark. And double that, you're getting 240 with advertisement. I'm gonna say about, I don't know, like 260 to break even. So it's actually gonna probably do it, and yeah, it deserves it. And then number 1, Suicide Squad with a staggering $135 million.
Wow.
It pretty much made the exact same amount as Deadpool, which is impressive. But here's the problem, folks, is that all the fans probably saw it this weekend. It's probably going to have a massive drop-off next weekend because of the bad word of the mouth and stuff. So right now, worldwide, it's at 267, but its budget's 175. So double that with advertising, we're looking at 375 maybe to break even. So it's almost there, maybe even 400. I don't know how much marketing they put into it, but it's going to take a lot just to break even, and Warner Brothers is looking for that hit. But I seriously think that all the fans saw it this weekend, and no one's going to go back to see it next weekend. So, but I don't know. We'll see what the drop-off is. And according to Joel, 9 Lives was going to be in the top 5, or not be in the top 5. He was correct. It was number 6 with – this is actually impressive. 9 Lives actually made 6.5 million this weekend, which is actually pretty good for that movie. So its budget is not available, obviously, and it's got no worldwide numbers, but it's got domestic numbers. So hey, you know what? If that fucking cat movie can rake in 6.5 million, God bless America, man. That's all I gotta say. So yeah, so that's your top 5 for the weekend, guys. So yeah, that's it for the episode. That's it. Joel, we made it. We made it, man. So speaking of Joel, I want to thank him for coming on. It was really awesome to talk to you about, just all of DC and just all the shit that happened this week. It was a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Thank you for having me on, for sure.
Yeah, no problem. And I'll definitely, I apologize for the Facebook Live viewers. I will definitely put up the YouTube link, and you guys can watch it there and stuff. Joel, where can the people find you online?
You can find me online at joelonfilm.com. I review pretty regularly there. And there's a little website called Podcasting Them Softly. A couple friends of mine run that, and they interview a lot of industry people. But I occasionally will write some print reviews on there. And yeah, that is my internet presence.
Yeah, go follow Joel, guys. He always go sees at least 3 movies a week, and he will have little excerpts and little reviews on his Twitter or Facebook or whatever. So please go follow him for that. If you guys want to follow me on Twitter, it's at RealChaseLee. Bam, right there. And if you're watching on YouTube and you want an audio-only version of the podcast, link will be in the description below. And if you're listening on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, iTunes, SoundCloud, all that jazz, and you want a video version and see my beautiful face and Joel's sexy voice, then you can do that. Link will be in the description below. For next week, guys, for episode 142, it will be the only episode I've ever done where both movies sound like a porno. I'm going to be doing Sausage Party and Pete's Dragon. So that will be next week's episode. It'll be nice to do a kid's film and an R-rated film. I'm looking forward to both. So it will be fun next weekend for sure. So that will do it this week, guys. I'm Chase Lee. And hey, guys, listen, if you made it through this entire podcast and you were not a movie fan, well, hopefully I convinced you to be one. The intro and outro music is done by my friends band Fervent Roze. Check them out. Peace out. Suicide Squad, motherfuckers. You can go see that if you want. And then Batman Killing Joke, I recommend it. Goodbye. I'll see you guys next week. Boom! Holy shit. 2 hours, guys. That was epic. We will see you guys next week.